Proverbs 9:1, where Solomon says, wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out 7 pillars. The 7 pillars of wisdom. That's in Proverbs today. So what are those 7 pillars? Well, you got to wait till I get to chapter 9 for me to tell you what those 7 pillars are, which would give you just on today, the thought for today, right? If I told you what the 7 pillars were, I'd have to kill you. Or make you a pastor, which is more of a slow death. But these pillars, because shingles comes along with being a pastor, these are the pillars that make up how we show up in the world. And those pillars rest on the firm foundation of the fear of God. Wisdom's pillars are founded in the fear of God. Everything else is built upon that. And it's essential that we understand the fear of God. Charles Spurgeon wrote, his whole character commands our reverence because it is superlatively holy. And his name is to us a word of awe, never to be mentioned flippantly. Never to be mentioned flippantly. You ever say, oh God, right? You hear it all the time. I had a friend years ago in California used to say, God bless you. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, I don't know. I said, if you're using God's name in vain, there's power in that. Remember that. When you say God bless you, you are putting blessing in God's name onto somebody. And Spurgeon says never to be quoted without earnest thought and prostration of heart before him. The basis for our faith is the fear of God, and that's what the 7 pillars are built on. In order to have a solid, faithful person who's useful to God's kingdom, in this fallen world, all 7 pillars are required. All pillars are necessary. None are more essential than others. You start removing pillars, right? And you have an unsteady structure. Remember what Pastor Matt spoke about last week. Every pillar is important. No pillar here at Landmark is more or less important than the other. Now, I know it seems like, hey, you know what? Terence could do this alone. Hey, I probably can, right? But okay, guys. Wow, you made your point. You see, every pillar is important. Hospitality is important. First people you meet, you walk in, people with a smiley face. Because you meeting somebody grumpy. Production is important. They just showed you. The worship team is important. Worship is important because they usher us into the throne room of God. The creative team is important, and that they do the bumpers and they do the videos. Family life. Your kids are over in family life. They're important. Every volunteer here is important. Every pillar is important. And every pillar should appreciate the value of every other pillar. Anybody here know who Joe Montana is? Joe Montana, 4-time Super Bowl winner, right? Joe Montana, he wouldn't have done it without his offensive line. Do you know those guys' names? No, you don't. You know Joe Montana. He knows their names because they protected him. His coach, Bill Walsh, set up the design for his success. Without that offensive line, without his running back, without his receivers, and without his brilliant coach, he might as well have been Hannah Montana because he never would have gone anywhere. And so today, we come to Proverbs. We're finishing up on Proverbs 3. And we're on part 3. The first part was 5 commands of a father to his son. The second part was 5 rewards of wisdom. And today, the third part, the final part, is the 5 warnings or precautions of wisdom. Where Solomon's telling his son, stay on path, man. Keep wisdom in your heart. Don't be afraid. Don't withhold good. Don't devise evil. Don't strive with people. And don't envy evil. And before he gets to his precautions, he gives us a little preamble. And he says in Proverbs 3:21 through 24, he says, my son, let them, wisdom, not depart from your eyes. Keep sound wisdom and discretion, so there will be life to your soul and grace to your neck. And you will walk safely in your way, and your foot will not stumble. And when you lie down, you will not be afraid. Yes, you will lie down, and your sleep will be sweet. Here's what Solomon's saying. Before I share these precautions, let me remind you, don't drift from the wisdom I've shared from you. This will preserve your soul and guard your walk in life. And it's easy to get off track, right? Isn't it? It's easy to get off track. There's countless things nudging us off track. But we must be ever vigilant. In Alan Stein's book, Sustain Your Game, he's talking about building a championship team. But it's true in Proverbs here, what Solomon's teaching us. In the moment, we must be mindful. In the stretch, we have to fight stagnation. And in the long haul, we have to beat burnout. In the moment, we must be mindful. In the moment, I can get hijacked, right? I can abandon all wisdom in just a moment. You ever get that? You ever get hijacked and abandon all good sense? Emotionally, it's a thing called amygdala hijack, where you're thinking with the executive part of your brain, but something stirs you, and you get down to your emotional part of your brain, and now you're off track. You no longer operate with wisdom. In the moment, we must be mindful, be alert. Don't let the moment hijack you. Be mindful, say, what's going on here? What's going on here? Second, in the stretch, we must fight stagnation. It's easy to get stagnated, isn't it? I've been doing this Christian thing for a long time. I've been a Christian since 77. I'm tired of this. I actually don't want my old life back. But you can get to the point where you say, I got this. I don't need church. I don't need to read the Bible. I've got this. Man, 47 years? Are you nuts? A friend of mine was in recovery for 20 years. That's a long time, man. And he gets to a point where he thinks, hey, I got this. Stops going to meetings. Stops speaking to his sponsor. He gets stagnated and overconfident. And you know where he ends up? Where you end up is rehab, jail, or the morgue. We can get tired of being stagnant. You can't get tired of being diligent. And third, in the long run, we must beat burnout. I have my 9 Ds, right, that I run my life on. That is, decisions drive direction. Direction determines destiny. And destiny demands diligence. When we coach people with the care team, we start with, where are you right now? Right? You know, you go to the mall and say, you are here. And what we have is you write the most brutal reality of your life today. And then decide where you want to go. And start making decisions that drive the direction that'll get you to that destination. And Solomon's saying, don't lose sight of the destination. And when you reach the destination, you must remain diligent, right? Every Super Bowl champion knows that destination demands diligence. It's easy to get lazy. The path burns us out. Watchman Nee, in his book, Love Not the World, it's such a great book. I read it 40 years ago. Watchman Nee, it's a little book, and it's like crazy, right? It's crazy wisdom. But he says, there's a spiritual force behind this world scene, which by means of the things that are in the world is seeking to enmesh men in its system. What he's saying, there is this force. It never sleeps. It has been around for centuries. It ain't going away. It ain't a person. It is a mindset that is always pushing its agenda. That's what Watchman Nee is saying. Don't lose heart. Don't give into it. We need to develop this distinctiveness in our faith that keeps us alert in the moment, that keeps us vigilant in the stretch, and keeps us resilient in the long run. If you can do that, Solomon says, you're going to walk safely in your way. Your foot will not stumble. And when you lie down, you will not be afraid. Yes, when you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. Who likes sweet sleep? I love to sleep. I can't believe I ever fought my mother to take a nap. Solomon's saying your path's going to be smooth. Your sleep is going to be sound. That is peace of mind if you'll stay on that path. How many people suffer from disrupted sleep due to stress? Yeah. It's horrible. It's one of the worst things that can happen to you. It's so great to lay down for a good night's sleep. My wife always kids me. I'll lay down, she'll go wash her face and come back, and I'm out. I'm done. And we went on the prison ministry, and my roommate, Bob Hellier, he comes out of the bathroom, he's like, Jennifer is right, you are fast asleep, man. Hey, I'm letting it all go. It's a magnificent blessing to lay down and sleep. Matthew Walker, in his book, Why We Sleep, he says there does not seem to be one major organ within the body or process within the brain that is optimally enhanced by sleep and detrimentally impaired when you don't get enough sleep. There's never a point where you say, oh, I'll catch up. You ever say that? I'll catch up next week. There's no catching up. That deficit is always there. And the physical and mental impairments, Walker says, caused by one night of bad sleep dwarf those caused by an equivalent absence of food or exercise. It's difficult to imagine any other state, naturally or medically manipulated, that affords a more powerful redressing of physical and mental health at every level of analysis. And Solomon says, if you live this way, you'll have a smooth path, you'll have a sweet sleep. God guarantees it. And Jesus reminds us that if we will remain, we will be fruitful as well. In John 15, 3-4, he says, you're already clean because of the word which you have spoken to you. Remain in me and I in you, just as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, but must remain in the vine. So neither can you unless you remain in me. Vigilance. Vigilance. The Bible is vigilance. Vigilance. That's the method. Smooth path, good sleep, fruitful life,